All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. So really quickly before we get into this, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget the like button. If you're a returning person, welcome back. We're here to talk about No Sudden Move from Steven Soderbergh, and like it says in the thumbnail, HBOMax. After it took literally the seventh month of the year to finally put out a bona fide, awesome flick for the streaming service. I would see this at the theater. This is a really cool movie, a classic movie, movies that we just don't see very often. And I know maybe that they tried to think that The Little Things earlier this year was going to be, the thriller that got noticed, but it really wasn't that good. And with a string of movies that just didn't live up to the standards that I actually think that Warner Brothers is capable of, with, Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat, and even the one that I really wanted to like, Those Who Wish Us Dead, they all fell short. All of them. Every single one. I did not see In the Heights because I don't like musicals, but since I don't like musicals, I can just already mark that off. But with Steven Soderbergh, who is still a master-class filmmaker, he gave me anyway, in my opinion, the best movie that they've been able to do this year for the streaming service. This movie starring Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, David Harbour, John Hamm, Bill Duke, Ray Liotta, and I'm probably missing some people that I'm not going to say. There's a cameo, kind of an extended cameo at the end of the movie. If you like Soderbergh movies, you'll appreciate this actor showing up in this movie. The writer here of this movie, Ed Solomon, it was really interesting. He's most known for the Bill and Ted movies, writing the Bill and Ted movies. This is what I looked up. I was like, okay, good. This guy needs to write more movies besides Bill and Ted. Somebody get this guy in front of a computer and tell him, write more movies. We also had, the David Holmes, the composer, who did the music for all the Ocean's movies, is back in this movie. And his soundtrack is fantastic. It gives you back all those feels. Now, what's this movie about? Well, let me tell you something. Fucking industrial espionage ain't no joke. And, the shit that goes down with car companies, it's some real shady stuff. And I don't want to spoil anything about this movie too much. Right? But like I said, this is a movie that I don't feel gets made enough anymore. This classic style, noir-ish, crime thriller, that took me back to even a little bit of it's not like a Scorsese movie really. It's just a great crime thriller. And Soderbergh, who I feel like doesn't really have a style. I feel like Soderbergh is always trying new things. He's just hitting on all cylinders here. I've liked him all the way back since, probably the first movie I really noticed from him was Out of Sight. I knew him. I know his films going back to Sex, Lies, and Videotape. But I really loved Out of Sight. I especially loved the movie that hardly anybody talks about called The Limey with Terrence Stamp and Peter Fonda. That movie is excellent. And of course you got the Ocean's movies. You got movies like The Informant that I really love. This guy, he does a lot of really cool stuff with film. I know he did the one that was filmed all from a smartphone, I believe, right? The one with Claire Foy a little bit ago. Even some of the shots in this, I feel like there's this weird kind of rounded feel to the edges of some of the shots that were really great. The acting in this movie is fantastic. And it all revolves around Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro getting hired by Brendan Fraser. So Don Cheadle plays Kurt Goins and Benicio del Toro plays Ronald Russo. And Kieran Culkin plays Charlie. And these are three guys hired by Brendan Fraser's Doug Jones. No, not the guy from all the Benicio del Toro movies. But they are hired to sit on a family while they have the husband of that family go to his office at GM Motors, get something out of a safe that they need, brought back to them, and then everybody goes their separate ways. Now, of course, being a crime thriller, things don't exactly go as planned. And the husband that's supposed to get something out of a safe, played by David Harbour, who's really excellent in this as well. Everybody is really good in this. By the way, David Harbour's really good. Let's see. And so things go south fast. And what ends up happening is Russo and Goins' characters, played by Cheadle and Benicio del Toro, realize that there's something really rotten in Denmark here and decide to try to flip this proverbial script on the people that hired them to do this job. And it all involves like a code book. It involves some real shady stuff dealing with car exhaust systems and whether or not what's going on there. And it just slowly starts to peel back what's really going on. Meanwhile, everybody's trying to get one up on each other. Everybody's trying to reach for the brass ring. Everybody's trying to make deals for these documents and stuff like that to get rich and to outplay the other people in getting ahead. And if I had to say that if there's an overall lesson to be learned in this movie, well, I definitely picked the right shirt to wear for this. This is one of my favorite shirts of all time. Trust no one. Because especially in this kind of game, because when you're a low-level thug who already doesn't have a lot of friends, because every character in this movie has got secrets. Every single person, just about, and everybody you basically can't trust any further than you can throw them. And so I would say in the end, when you get what you wanted, don't overreach. And so all I'm going to say is go see this now. Again, like I said, this is really, really classic filmmaking. This is a really, really classic style movie. I loved every minute of it because, you know, it's just desperate thugs doing desperate things. And when you have someone like Soderbergh and when you have a cast like this who just nails it, you're going to have a good time. Now, I mean, and I don't think this movie's for everyone. This is not, I think if you appreciate filmmaking and good acting and good writing, and you don't just go to the theater every time to just turn your brain off, if you want to just actually enjoy experiencing all those things that I said, then you're going to have a good time. If you go in there thinking you're going to see some big action mafia, nonstop shoot 'em up, that's not what this is. Soderbergh has never made that type of movie. I'm not saying that there aren't moments of excitement in here. I'm not saying that there's not moments of violence, but there are way more. I was way invested in seeing how everything played out, even if the writing on the wall, there was writing on the wall for some of the characters, but seeing how it all kind of comes together, converges together. And even as the character that I'm trying not to talk about says, all these things, I don't know how it all came together, but here we are. And that's all I'm going to say for non-spoilers. I do have a few lines that I want to say, so some spoilers, I guess, are ahead. But, so if you don't want anything spoiled, stop watching right now. And we're just going to talk about a few things for the people who have seen the movie. already, and you want to hear a few spoilers. So starting now, a few spoilers. So when a character tells you, when you hear them say, like, oh, we're on our way, and like when somebody says, we're almost there, baby, they're probably not going to get to that said there that they're trying to get to. And the thing is even when they say it, I still want to see how they don't get there. There's a really great moment where David Harbour is desperate and goes to see his boss, and he has to get a document from him or his family's going to die. And just the desperation of Harbour in this scene where he's trying to explain to his boss, I'm going to commit physical violence on you now, sir. This is a punch. I'm going to punch you now, sir. This is how much I care about my job. I'm going to be punching you now. It was just so many cool moments. When Kieran Culkin, at the beginning, well, about the maybe a third of the way through the movie, a little less, takes off his mask and decides he's going to shoot David Harbour, and Don Cheadle blows him away. I kind of, what I had thought it was going to happen in that scene was he was going to try to kill somebody, the whole family. Because once you take the mask off, he's basically saying, I don't care. I just didn't see Don Cheadle, like, shooting him. Because I didn't know, like, what kind of men these were yet. I kind of thought that we could see the whole family get shot at that point. And Don Cheadle realizing that they're being set up. They've got problems, both of these guys. Russo is sleeping with Ray Liotta's wife, who's like the head of his little mob area. And you got Bill Duke, who's pissed off at Don Cheadle's Kurt Goins for fucking things up at this Gotham hotel situation. So both guys put together, set up to take the fall for this thing that everybody in that house was supposed to die. I just really loved how that all flips, like once they realize that they were getting set up and how they decide to rip off everybody else. Now, near the end, when everybody's getting what they want, you think that they find a way to get some money, and as soon as they say the guy we're dealing with, there's somebody above him, and then there's somebody above him, and that somebody is the guy we're supposed to be dealing with, and that's the guy with the real money. That's when I went, oh shit, you're overreaching. And even Benicio del Toro says, and agreed with me, dude, don't get greedy, because greed gets you killed. And what's funny is it ends up hurting Benicio del Toro more than it does hurt Don Cheadle. Benicio's the one who ends up with all the money, but he gets betrayed by the woman he was sleeping with. That was brilliant as well. And Cheadle, he walks away with just the $5,000 that he wanted it all. He took it all. He lost it all. He ends up with $5,000 and his life. And that's all he gets after all of this. He does get his life, though, and $5,000 back in 1954 would get you a nice chunk of change. Now, the cameo that we were dancing around with was Matt Damon. I thought Matt Damon, he was definitely chewing a little scenery, but the dialogue that they gave him explaining that you aren't the people who make the rules, he was basically saying what I was saying earlier, which was they overreached. He even says in the speech that, what was my overreach? Where did I go wrong in this plan? Who was the weak link in the chain? And when he started saying overreach a few too many times, I was like, that's the whole point of this whole thing for these characters. You had it, you could have just walked away with what you had, but you had to go for the brass ring, and you lost. And that's just, I just loved it. And then finding out like how secondary, like what the whole document was, being that it was about the emissions and the thing going, with like smog in California and dealing with catalytic converters, all of this. They don't fuck around. when it comes to this industrial espionage in cars. This was a real case that settled in 1975, the year I was born, which is kind of crazy since we're about to start a bunch of movie reviews from the year I was born. And it's just a fascinating movie, a fascinating crime thriller. I enjoyed it from beginning to end, and I'm not going to say any more about it because if you've gotten this far, I honestly just loved this movie. And right now I can honestly say that besides the movie Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, this is my second, I finally have two movies that I truly loved this year. Nobody and No Sudden Move by Steven Soderbergh. So, if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Otherwise, we'll be back later with more stuff. You know what? I'm not even going to do it. I'm not even going to do the neuralizer thing because I like this movie so much and I'm so confident in what I just said. And somebody's going to go, oh, yeah, fuck you. And to that I say, no, fuck you. Have a good night. Bye.